In the world of pro basketball, the Philadelphia 76ers are known for chasing glory, but they've also been plagued by the curse. They've had the talent, the hype, the fans. But when it comes to championships, always just short. And that's where Stanley Sugerman comes in, played by Adam Sandler. Stanley is a scout. For those who don't follow the NBA, scouts are people hunting for tomorrow's stars. They fly around the world, studying games and tournaments, school courts, searching for that one player who can flip a team's future. For the Sixers, Stanley has been that scout for over a decade. He's their secret weapon, the man with the sharpest eye in the room. At the start of the film, Stanley is once again out on the road. This time, he's following up on a lead, a young American player named Zeke, who seems promising. On paper, Zeke checks all the boxes: athleticism, good stats, height, raw potential. But Stanley isn't a numbers guy. He believes in seeing the full picture. And when he visits Zeke's home and meets his family, something doesn't feel right. Stanley rejected the kid because he's carrying so much attitude, not a person who can understand team players. Still, Stanley doesn't give up. He heads to another country to check out a different lead, but that player turns out to have a substance abuse issue. It's another dead end. 2 countries, 2 disappointments. The leads keep drying up and the frustration only heightening. Stanley's weariness is more than physical, it's emotional. He hasn't been home in weeks, his daughter is growing up without him there, and his wife, Teresa, ever supportive, is tired of late-night video calls and missed milestones. When he finally returns to Philadelphia and walks into the Sixers office, it's with the posture of a man who's trying to stay hopeful but is quietly losing faith. Back at headquarters, Stanley sits down with Rex Merrick, the team's wise and respected owner, and Rex's daughter, Kat, a smart and observant executive. In a boardroom meeting with other franchise leaders, the topic turns back to Zeke. The organization wants him badly, but Stanley strongly pushes back. He explains that Zeke might look good on the highlight reels.
Are you referring to the highlights his mother put together?
But he's not ready for the mental pressure of the NBA. He's not coachable. And worse, he could bring down the locker room culture. Rex sees Stanley's honesty and trusts him. In a surprise move, he promotes Stanley from a scout to the coaching staff. It's more than a job title. It's a major step forward. Stanley is finally going to sleep in his own bed, spend time with his family, and trade his passport for a clipboard.
So what do you think? Thank you.
That night, he goes home and shares the happy news with Teresa and their daughter. They head out to a small dinner celebration, smiles all around. After years of grinding, it seems that things are finally changing for the better. But happiness is short-lived. Just a few days later, the 76ers owner passes away unexpectedly. The news is a punch to the gut. Stanley is devastated. Not just because Rex believed in him, but because he was a rare kind of owner, one who understood basketball as more than business. At the funeral, Stanley once again crosses paths with Kat. But more importantly, he meets Rex's son, Vince. Vince is not like his father. He's flashy, arrogant, and driven by analytics and dollars. Shortly after Rex's death, Vince takes control of the Sixers and begins making sweeping changes. One of the first things he does? Demote Stanley right back into scouting. Actually, Vince has personal grudges with Stanley and is trying hard to make Stanley quit. For once again, the dream of a coaching job, the office, the future, all gone.
You're indispensable as a scout.
3 months have passed. Stanley is back on the road, reluctantly doing what he thought he'd left behind. He's sent overseas once again, this time to Spain, with a mission to find someone, anyone, who fits Vince's vision for a reimagined team. There's no love in it anymore. It's a job again, not a passion. In Spain, Stanley reconnects with an old friend and former player, Leon, now a local coach. Leon sees that Stanley's spirit is fading and advises him to quit the Sixers and find something better.
Why don't you come and just be an agent with me?
But Stanley feels loyal. Stanley stumbles upon a fierce street basketball game. It's not organized, but a pure hustle. That's when he sees him, a tall, lean player with freakish athleticism and natural court sense. The man dominates every profession, playing with a quiet fire. He's unshakable. That player is Bo Cruz. Bo doesn't say much. After winning the game and a small cash bet, he disappears into the night. But Stanley's already hooked. He follows Bo, tracks him to a small apartment where Bo lives with his mother and young daughter. When Stanley tries to introduce himself, Bo mistakes him for a burglar and nearly takes him out. Once things calm down, Stanley explains who he is and why he's there. Inside, he gets a glimpse of Bo's life. His mother is kind, wise, and supportive. Bo's daughter is playful and bright. But Bo, he's haunted. He tells Stanley that basketball used to be everything to him. Until life got in the way. Bullied as a kid for being tall. Left by his wife, grieving his father's death, he abandoned the sport to work construction and provide for his family. However, Stanley sees a spark still there, so he pitches the NBA dream. Bo is skeptical. How much do I get paid? He asks. Stanley is honest. Nothing, unless you make it. Money is the only need and goal for Bo. This opportunity was nothing for Bo, but after listening to the big reward he can get after selection, Bo agrees to give it a try.
Details in the morning.
A few days later, Stanley sets up a test match which will be recorded, streamed, sent directly to Vince for review. Bo plays his heart out, showcasing his insane wingspan, vertical leap, and motor. But Vince isn't impressed. He rejects him outright. Says Bo's raw, too emotional, not worth the risk.
Character, mentality, other considerations.
Stanley knows better. He sees not just the talent, but the work ethic, the hunger. So he goes all in. He buys Bo a ticket and brings him to America, with or without Vince's blessing, fully aware he could be throwing his career away. When they arrive at the airport, Bo is detained briefly due to an old assault charge.
You got flagged for an aggravated assault charge.
It's a moment of real tension. Stanley has to scramble to explain and get him through customs. Eventually, they're allowed to proceed. Once home, Stanley explains everything to Teresa, who, while concerned, trusts her husband's instinct. She's seen him light up about a player before, but never like this. They organize another test, a private game between Bo and Kermit Wilkes, an established NBA prospect. Bo holds his own at first, but Wilt gets in his head fast. He starts trash-talking, throwing out deeply personal insults. And guess what? It works.
Damn, you slow. Here comes the break. Olay, bitch.
Bo cracks, loses focus, and underperforms. Vince uses the footage to justify cutting him off entirely. He even calls Stanley and orders him to send Bo back to Spain. Stanley refuses, and this time, after years of loyalty, he decides to quit the Sixers.
I quit.
Walking away from the franchise to stick by Bo. He returns to Leon asking for one more favor, another shot. But this time, Stanley isn't betting on a miracle. He's betting on hard work. Stanley tells Bo something that once changed his own life. You're not here to beat other players. You're here to beat yourself.
It's you against you out there.
That mantra became the foundation of Bo's comeback. What follows is an intense training sequence. Stanley designs drills that test Bo's stamina, strength, and focus. They run uphill streets. Bo jogs for miles while Stanley follows him in the car, shouting encouragement and sometimes tough love out the window.
Good, don't stop. To the top.
But on the court, Stanley recruits a young analyst to break down Bo's mechanics, identifying weak spots and reshaping the game. They focus on consistency, on self-control, on handling pressure. Slowly, Bo starts to shine. During one practice, Bo opens up about the tattoos on his arms. One is for his daughter and mother, the two reasons he keeps fighting.
They mean everything to me.
The other arm is blank. That space, he says, is for his father, a tribute yet to be earned. Stanley knows Bo's greatest opponent isn't another player, it's actually his fear. So he teaches him how to shut it all out. The noise, the insults, the expectations, just play the game. At last, Bo is beginning to believe in himself. But as the next tryout looms, a new public scandal threatens to destroy everything. After Bo Cruz's crashing rejection by the Sixers, things take a dark turn. Vince, the new head of the franchise, exposes Bo's past assault charge during a live-streamed game,
as a history of assault,
shattering his public image. Bo, humiliated and hurt, storms out of Stanley's home. He feels betrayed, confused, and angry, especially at the one man who gave him hope. Stanley, knowing the weight of what just happened, races after him. He catches up to Bo and convinces him to get in the car so they can talk. On the drive, something changes. Anger gives way to vulnerability. Bo opens up. He tells Stanley about his biggest fear, losing custody of his daughter.
She don't want to share custody anymore.
Years ago, his ex-wife tried to take her away in court. Back then, Bo still had some savings, a shred of stability. He fought back and won. But now, with nothing to show, he fears that one day his little girl might be taken from him. Not because he doesn't love her, but because he can't provide. Stanley listens quietly, his heart breaking. He promises Bo without hesitation, "That's never gonna happen. Not on my watch." Then, for the first time, Stanley shares his own pain. He reveals that he used to be a player too, and he was more than good. One night after a game, he got into a car accident. It wasn't life-threatening, but it left his hand injured. The next day, his team lost a critical game. The pressure, the guilt, it was unbearable. That injury became the end of his playing days. One small moment, one mistake, and his dream was gone.
Everything I wanted, gone.
Since then, he's lived for the game, but always on the sidelines. In a way, helping Bo is helping himself heal. The next day, Stanley's daughter, Alex, devises a bold plan to get Bo's confidence and the world's attention back. She decides to get Bo viral through social media, and once he gets famous on the platform, any board members would be rushing to take Bo in the NBA. So, according to the plan, she organizes a training session, but with a twist. Stanley offers $100 to any player who can score a basket against Bo. Word spreads quickly. One by one, young hopefuls step up to challenge Bo. And one by one, they fail. Bo blocks everything. His defense is ironclad. Alex records and streams the entire challenge online. The video goes viral almost instantly. Suddenly, a new trend explodes on social media, the Bo Challenge. People all over the internet are talking about this tall, relentless player who no one can score on. Memes, edits, hashtags, Bo Cruz is everywhere.
You were my record team in the 70s.
Where did this kid come from?
Then comes a real test. NBA player Tobias Harris joins the trend and challenges Bo. In front of a crowd, the two face off. Tobias manages to get a single goal, but Bo holds his own and earns the respect. Tobias Harris manages to get one clean shot past Bo, but Bo doesn't fold. He holds his ground, plays with heart, and finishes strong. The internet eats it up. Bo's name is now buzzing in basketball circles again, this time for all the right reasons. As his popularity surges, Stanley knows they have to strike while the iron is hot. Then, finally, the moment they've been working for arrives. Bo gets an invitation to the NBA Combine, the ultimate proving ground for potential NBA recruits. But fate has one last twist in store. On the day of the Combine, Bo arrives to discover that his opponent is none other than Kermit Wills, the same arrogant player who humiliated him during the earlier Sixers tryout. In the warm-ups, Kermit doesn't miss a beat. He begins taunting Bo, pushing every emotional button. He targets Bo's deepest insecurities, his past, his financial struggles, and worst of all, his daughter. Kermit mocks Bo by waving at his daughter in the stands and says she would probably like him more than her own dad.
Look, she likes me.
It's brutal psychological warfare, and it works. Bo loses his temper, lashes out, and nearly fights Kermit. He catches himself just in time, but the damage is done. He's rattled, unfocused. During the game, Bo misses shots he normally lands. His defense weakens. Kermit scores point after point, and the scouts watching start to frown. Vince, who's been watching smugly from the sidelines, turns to Stanley and coldly tells him, "This is over." That night, Bo is devastated. He fears he blew his only chance. The media runs with the narrative of him being aggressive, unstable, and risky. Even some of the NBA circles that once praised him now doubt him.
This is a problem.
Bo retreats. The light inside him begins to fade again. Stanley, too, is crushed. All the sacrifice, the months of work, the belief, the hope, gone in one bad game. But he doesn't give up. He visits Bo and finds him packing to return to Spain. At the airport, Bo thanks Stanley for everything he's done and promises to pay him back someday. Stanley brushes it off. "You don't owe me anything," he says quietly. "You're a good man." As Bo disappears through security, Stanley heads back toward the parking lot, broken, defeated. Then, his phone rings. It's Leon, his old friend from Spain. Leon sounds excited. He tells Stanley that he secured one last shot for Bo, a friendly game only attended by scouts, coaches, and team insiders. No politics, no media, just basketball. But it starts in less than an hour. Stanley turns on a dime and sprints through the airport. He races to the gate, yelling for Bo, pushing past travelers and TSA. Just before Bo boards, Stanley finds him, out of breath and desperate. "This is it," Stanley says. "One last shot. I believe in you." Bo hesitates, but he sees it in Stanley's eyes. This isn't just another opportunity. This is the moment that could change both of their lives. They race to the gym. Inside, a handful of NBA players are already warming up. Among them, Kermit Wiltz, again. Also, there's Kat, now reclaiming control of the Sixers organization from Vince, who's finally been pushed out. She nods at Stanley with a look that says, "Let's see what you got." The scrimmage begins. Bo and Kermit lock eyes. Round 2. But this time, Bo doesn't bite at the taunts. He plays smart, focused, like a man with something bigger on the line. Every block is clean. Every dunk is electric. His footwork is fast. His vision sharp. Stanley, watching from the sidelines, nods proudly. This is the Bo he believed in. And then, just like that, the game ends. No drama, just skill. 5 months later, we find ourselves in a gleaming NBA arena. Alex, now working with a pro team, watches courtside as the game begins. She calls Stanley, now an assistant coach for the Philadelphia 76ers, to wish him good luck. He's not scouting anymore. He's made it back to the court, where he belongs. And down on that court, wearing an official NBA jersey, standing tall and confident, is Bo Cruz.
No, that doesn't work anymore.
I thought I...
As the crowd roars, Bo jogs over to Stanley grinning. He lifts his arm to show a brand new tattoo that reads, "Never Back Down," a tribute to the man who never gave up on him. The camera pans out as the game begins. Not just the game on the court, but the new game of their lives. One built on second chances, sweat, and the unshakable bond between two men who refuse to quit. And that's what Hustle gets so right. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and drop a comment. And let us know which underdog sports movie we should cover next. We'll see you in the next one.